Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to age an image on Photoshop. First off, you'll need an image of a landscape or maybe a building, which you can get off the internet. So on here, when you're selecting your image, the first thing that you'll need to know is that your image needs to be good pixel quality. So when you scroll over your Google Images on here, you'll notice that it brings up the resolution at the bottom here, the pixels. So you want to make sure that your image is at least 300 by 300 to make sure you get a good quality image, but you also don't want it to be too big, so try not to go into the kind of 3000s by 3000 images. Also, when putting your image into Photoshop, make sure that you click on the image that you're going to use, okay, like so, wait for it to load and then drag and drop that image onto Photoshop, and then it should automatically open that up on another document. I'm not going to use this actual image, I'm going to use this one that I found the other day. So once you've got your image on Photoshop, you can zoom in if need be. Shortcut to do that is Command plus if you're using a PC, or Control plus if you're Control plus if you're using a PC, or Command plus if you're using a Mac, so you can zoom in and out so you can see your image. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do, if I come up to my move tool, the first thing that you're going to do is duplicate the background. To do that, we are going to drag a background layer onto the new layer tab. Now the new layer tab is this little one down the bottom on the right hand side of your layers tab, and it looks like a little piece of paper with a turned up corner. Okay, so when you drag your background onto that, it will create a copy, as we can see here. Now this copy we are going to turn black and white. To do that, we're coming up to the top bar where it says image, going to adjustments, and we're going to change it black and white here. Okay, it's going to bring up this box which allows us to sort of adjust the tonal range in the black and white. Okay, so you can sort of have a go, move things around a little bit, see if it gives a different effect. Okay, then obviously when you're happy with it, you can press OK. And we're going to name our layers so we know what one's what. So all we have to do is double click on the layer, and we're going to change that to say black and white. Okay, so we've duplicated the layer and created it black and white first. We're actually going to duplicate that layer again, and this time we're going to use layer effects to get a different sort of effect with this layer. So there's lots of different ones in here, you can have a go. Some of them don't really do a lot, some of them make it go completely black, but see what you've got on there. So if I was to use linear light, okay, it's, made it really contrasty. So I'm going to stick straight with this one, but there's other ones on here, pin light, hard mix, but I'm going to go back to that linear light. Okay, and vivid light, and I'm going to bring the, because it's really, really strong, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the opacity down to sort of blend it with that image that was underneath. There we go. And again, I'm going to name that layer vivid light. Okay, so we've got this we've started to age that image a little bit, we put it black and white, we've given it a bit of sort of texture to the image, but we need a little bit more texture on there. So go back to the internet again, go back to Google Images, and type in texture. Okay, and you'll get lots of pictures of different sort of textures that you use. I am just going to use this one here straight away. Okay, let it load, and this time round we can drag directly onto Photoshop. Okay, and it's put our texture on there. If it comes up really, really big, you can press Command T to resize your image. Ooh, mine's absolutely huge. If you hold down Shift, okay, it stays the same size when you move it. So I'm going to resize that, put it over my image. There we go. And just zoom back in. There we go. And once you're happy with it, press enter and it goes on. So I want that to be black and white as well. So again, I come up to image, adjustments, black and white. Okay, and it doesn't really matter how the contrast looks, it's fine as it is, but at the moment it's currently covering all our other layers. So to merge it in with the background, we're going to come back to layer effects where it says normal, and I'm going to use overlay. So overlay sort of merges the top image in with the bottom one. Okay, so it merges the top image in with the bottom one. Okay, so my texture is layered over the top of that image now. For some of you, your texture might be really, really strong. So again, you can use the opacity to tone it down, or you can keep it quite nice and strong. I mean, I quite like mine the way it is. So I'm going to leave it at 100% opacity. But if yours has got really strong lines in it, you might want to drag it down a little bit. So you can already see now how we started to age that image. So if I name that first texture, okay, but if I turn off the texture layer, you can see the vivid light layer, the normal black and white layer, and then obviously the background. Okay, so I'm going to turn those all back on. Okay, something that you get on old photos as well is that sometimes they have a slight kind of sepia tone. So sepia tone is a slight yellow tone. So to give that effect to our image, we're going to create a new layer. So again, this is new layer tab here. We go to the paint bucket tool. Your paint bucket tool might be hidden under your gradient tool, so it might look like this. Okay, if you hold down, there'll be the paint bucket in the middle. Okay, you'll need to select a kind of lightish yellowy golden colour. So I've already got this one selected on here from doing one earlier, but obviously you can change the colours. Okay, and you want to fill your layer. Okay, so again, we've covered the entire picture. So we're going to go back to our overlay on our layers, filters, okay, and merge it in. So that's a little bit too strong. So again, use the opacity to sort of bring it down so you've got a hint of yellow in your image. Okay, got like a bit of a hint of yellow in there. So again, if I turn it off, you can see the difference. Okay, put colour. Okay, so we've pretty much got there. The last thing that you could do to your image to kind of finish it off is add a fade around the outside. To do that, again, we create a new layer. Okay, and we come up to the marquee tool, which is the second one from the top, rectangular marquee tool. That will change the top panel. So if you see on here, it's slightly different. It will say feather. Okay, in your feather, you need to put either 60 or 80 pixels, 60 or 80 pixels. Okay, and you're gonna make a selection. Now, a fade is usually around the outer edge of an image, so you want your box to be, you know, reasonable size, but also you want the subject, the main focal point of the image, not to have the fade on it. So I'm going to select this area here. So what I want is a fade on everything outside of that box. Currently, if I was to put fade on now, it would go on everything inside that box, so we need to inverse it. To inverse, we go up to select and inverse, or Command I. Okay, now it's selected everything outside that box. So I'm going to come back to my paint bucket tool, and I'm going to select a light kind of grey colour up here, and just in that area around the outside, I'm just going to give it a click. You can see it's put a nice fade on there, okay, but it's probably a little bit too strong. So again, I'm going to come back to my opacity, nope, not fill, whoops, opacity, and bring that down. Okay, there we go. And if I press Command D, it deselects, or Control D, it deselects, and you've got your finished aged photo. So if I turn them off layer by layer, you see it going back to the original image. Okay, so in total you should have about 6 layers. Okay, you have your original background, you'll have your black and white layer, and your layers effect filter, so I use vivid light. You'll have your texture, your colour, and your fade, okay, to get your final outcome. Okay, what you'll need to also do is create a new PowerPoint called Graphics Techniques. Okay, and you'll need to make sure that you've got your original image on there and your texture and then your final outcome. Okay, so you'll need to put that all onto a PowerPoint as well. And last of all, to flatten the image, okay, we pressed Control and click, so you right click on the top, and if you scroll down, it should say flatten image. And when we do that, it merges all our layers together, which means we can't edit them now. It's stuck as it is. So if you're then putting that onto PowerPoint, all you need to do is drag and drop it. Ooh. So you'll have a PowerPoint that looks like this. It's a different one that I did yesterday. But I'll just show you. Okay, literally drag and drop the image on. And there you are, you'll be done.